Previously on Bionicpig.
And more importantly, Epic. Oh, what, you guys don't know of the amazing 20th Century Fox's movie Epic? Me neither. Seriously, like, what? When did this movie come out? I have never heard of this movie. Epic is peak. Epic is an amazing movie. Definitely gotta make a video out of it.
Epic was my shit. Please review.
Epic is a gosh darn banger.
Hey, I liked Epic.
Epic is a great movie.
Epic is an amazing movie.
Actually, I do remember Epic. Actually, remember enjoying it.
Now we want
me
a review
personally.
of Epic.
Epic to me was a great movie.
You
but I
need
haven't
to
watched
watch Epic.
Epic.
It's such a gem.
I really
But
loved
I
Epic
only
in
know
German
one
when it
person
came
that
out.
watched
Just recently
Epic.
watched the
Oh,
movie.
I'm
Man,
sorry.
You gotta watch
Don't
Epic.
know
It's
about
very
it.
underrated.
It was a
and
good,
beautiful.
Please do a review on it.
Come on, man. You gotta make a video about it now. Fine.
Listen, guys, I know there's a lot of movies that have little people in them. We're talking Alvin and the Chipmunks, Bug's Life, Small Soldiers, and so on. So whenever I heard about a movie called Epic, made by 20th Century Fox, I just assumed it would be, you know, like Delgo. You guys remember Delgo? I love that movie. You know, a movie about a green guy, he's like dancing around, he's a witty young man who's immature, he's pushed to be like a more, you know, man, more mature boy. But you see, Epic is nothing like that at all. See, actually what the movie is about a young man who's a little bit of a troublemaker, and then gradually throughout the movie gets some character development and becomes more of a man, if you will. Now, there are a lot of people in the world that have some bad habits, including me. And throughout time and space, there's been many different methods to get rid of those bad habits. But what if I told you there's a brand new method that works more than anything you've ever tried? And I'm, of course, talking about Fume, the company that looks at the problem in a different light. They really thought outside of the box and thought, man, what if we just took the bad out of the bad habit? Because let's be real, breaking a habit is extremely hard, but just taking the bad out of that habit is pretty easy. Fume is an innovative, award-winning device. Instead of electronics, it is completely natural. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. My favorite flavor that I have been using throughout this whole time is crisp mint. Delicious, it's refreshing. And your Fume device has an adjustable airflow. It has a bunch of fidgety different things you could do with it, you know, just to mess with your hands, because we all know how you like fidgeting with stuff, you know, de-stressing that anxiety. And now there is a brand new way to fidget with Fume. Base was launched in January, and it is a weighted rest for your Fume. When you ain't using it, you snap it on there. You could spin the bad boy around, do a couple tricks, you know, impress your friends. Because trust me, your friends are going to be so impressed when you're flicking your Fume. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack. You can head to tryfume.com/Bionicpig or scan the QR code on the screen and use code Bionicpig for 10% off the Journey Pack today. Oh, if I were to describe this movie in one single word, it would be extravagant. This movie is honestly something of a surprise for me because I've never heard of this movie. The concept's really overplayed and outdone, but you know, it doesn't mean it's bad. It's got a lot of cliches, you know, small world of little people, and then big person who doesn't believe in small world with little people in it becomes little and then learns the ways of the little people, and they're like, oh wait, I was wrong the whole time. Little people are real and they're pretty cool, and for some reason I have to save them. But I'll admit the movie does work with it. The story's interesting enough. The character designs are pretty cool, especially, you know, the gray, evil, stinky guys. At least I forget what they're called. Groggins? Grogus. And some of the plant people are, dare I say it, epic. So the story follows a young girl whose mom is now dead, and she goes to spend some time with her father because that was like the last dying wish of mommy, is to, you know, create a bond with her father. And her father's insane. Or should I say, daddy is not epic. See, he's actually a loser and a nerd who believes that there is a small society of small people who do small things for small things. But the catch here is that he's never actually found pure evidence of these small people. He was so obsessed with finding this small society of people that his own wife left him. Actually, hold up, I take this back. This guy is epic. Focusing on the grind set because women are temporary, but discovering a society of small people is forever. Sigma mindset. But since his wife left him and is now dead, he has to try to rekindle that bond with his daughter, whose name is MK. I mean, sure, he didn't neglect his relationship and his daughter daughter to chase some crazy dumb dream that he has to find this weird civilization that may or may not be real instead of actually spending time with the people who actually care about him the most. But he seems like a pretty epic guy to me. So enough about Daddy. What about the small people? What are they all about? Well, we got Commander Ronan, who's, you know, commander of the army of green people. They're not really all green. They're just like, they're in the forest. So that's, they're round green stuff. You know, Ronan's the classic hard-headed, old-fashioned dude, and he takes after the rebellious young man named Nod. And Nod is that basic, average archetype that we all see in a lot of different movies, you know, like Treasure Planet, Titan AE, you know, the kid who had a terrible childhood and grows up to be a teenager, he just starts doing this all the time. He's like, I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. I do what I want. You're not my dad. My dad's dead. But this society of small people's at war with the Groggins. There are a bunch of gross bugs that shoot arrows of rot. Do you like how these dudes leave behind that gross shit that you find on trees? Like whenever they shoot an arrow into a tree, it bulbouses up into like those little rotten balls you find on trees. It's a nice little touch because now I finally know where those things come from because I couldn't figure it out. But anyway, the premise of the rot dudes versus the advanced civilization of green people is that the rot dudes are bad. They don't like nature. They want to destroy it. Green people, good. They want nature to expand and be pretty. Basically what I'm trying to say is these Groggus, not epic. But the story that happens throughout this movie is pretty riveted. I was riveted to my seat the whole time because it got pretty intense. So we got this queen, right? And this queen's got superpowers. She can make nature grow out of pretty much anything. Honestly, the ridiculous amount of powers she has is overpowered. Don't know how she loses in all this. But anyway, they're at a time where they're trying to find a successor to her by doing this ritual to transfer her powers into the superpowered plant. But all of the bad guys showed up and crashed the party. Ronan ended up killing the lead bad guy's son. However, the lead bad guy ended up killing the queen, who actually is Ronan's like secret lover. So it was a pretty sad beginning. I did like how they gave a pretty solid motivation, not only to the good guys, but also to the bad guys. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, killing your significant other or mom or dad or family or whatever is kind of like a basic trope for motivation, but it works pretty good here because it gives the bad guys an actual reason to go all out and like try to kill everyone. So safe to say, shit gets real in this movie very quickly. And to make the situation even more real, guess who shows up in the middle of the battlefield? That's right, MK. She actually finds the queen as she is dying, and the queen's like, hey yo, you kind of big and shit. You don't know anything about our world or our people. You're gonna save all of us. You're gonna save all of us. Okay, I'm gonna make you small. Boop, boop. Now you're small. Now take this sapling. You're gonna save it. I don't know why. I don't know who you are, but you're gonna do it. And MK obviously responds with, I bet. Cool. Huh, okay. And so begins MK's epic journey. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, there are two comedic characters. One's a slug, one's a snail. Not gonna lie, they weren't like the worst comedic relief characters I've ever seen. There isn't really much to say about them besides that, you know, they're like the protectors of the sapling and they're the only creatures who know how to take care of it and stuff like that. So they are technically important to the story. So anyway, the bulk of the middle of the movie is kind of building the relationship between MK and Nod. You know, they got a little like relationship going on there, a little bit of romance. And I didn't really mind their relationship as it felt pretty natural. It didn't like derail the movie. It felt just like a part of it. And there was some quality character building, MK bringing out the best in Nod becoming a little bit more mature because of MK. So she goes to this caterpillar hippie who tells them that they need to protect this seedling until the moon comes out and the beams shoot from the moon and make the sapling super powered. I guess, and I guess that's how the sapling chooses a successor. However, Evil Dude comes out and steals the sapling and the two funny guys. So MK, Ronan, and Nod get together and they plan a good old rescue mission. So they come up with the idea to get some disguises, and MK remembers that Daddy, he's got some disguises. So they head to her dad's place, and Nod and Ronan just proceed to bash the shit out of her dad. And I honestly find this pretty hilarious because, you know, in a lot of movies, the big people are always scary. They're like, the small people are always terrified of them. But in this context, They think he's a goddamn loser. Like, they're bullying the shit out of him. They even talk about how they purposely throw him off his trail. So they're giving him bits and pieces in like an area that isn't their actual location. And then Ronan's like, yeah, we're actually way over here. But he thinks we're over here because he's dumb and stupid. They even call them stompers and call them smelly and stinky and ugly and stuff like that. Slow and stupid. And then that's when MK's like, ayo, I'm one of them stomper people you've been talking about, which I'm kind of confused how they didn't realize MK was a stomper. Like she's obviously wearing clothes that are like human clothes, stomper clothes, and she kind of just appeared out of the mist. So it's weird that they didn't realize that earlier, but you know, whatever. But anyway, her dad ends up seeing all of them in his room. He panics, gets the sucky vacuum thingy, ends up sucking his daughter. With the vacuum, shut up. He ends up sucking his daughter into the vacuum, and then he sees his daughter in there and he passes out. But before MK leaves, she puts the thumbtack in the location of where the green people actually are. So now it's all out war. They go in, they save the 2 slug boys, barely make it out. Ronan, being the badass that he is, literally takes on like 1,000 different of the Grogos by himself, takes on a goddamn army, and he makes it out. Mind you, I was expecting him to die there. He actually makes it out. So they get back to the ritual site with the sapling. They start the ritual, and all of a sudden the moon was blacked out by the Grogus on top of bats, which I loved the visual of that scene. Like seeing all the bats like block out the moon was really cool. So then we have a literal war, you know, it's arrows flying everywhere, people dying left and right, all that shit happening. All the while, MK realizes the reason she was brought here. The reason why the big girl was made small is so she could bring her daddy over and her daddy can save the day. So her daddy at home starting to have like a panic attack. He's like, oh shit, I am delusional. I saw my daughter as a small person. I need to cancel everything that I'm doing. I'm an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Until he sees the red thumbtack in the location of where they actually are. And then he realizes that is actually her. So he goes and finds MK, and MK is like, yo, you gotta take care of these bats. And he's got, you know, bats on speed dial, the bat sound on speed dial, I guess. And he starts this bat sound and all of them end up chasing him out of there. And then Ronan comes back, obviously, you know, he's beat up, but he's still badass. And he literally 1v1s the big bad guy. After beating an entire army by himself, Ronan's like, hey, don't worry. I got this, guys, I got this. This is for my waifu. You know, she's dead now, but this is for her. The big old bad guy ends up getting like sucked into the big old rot in the tree and dies. And I actually thoroughly enjoyed the end of this movie because, see, how I was expecting the end of this movie to go was the sapling was gonna choose MK to be the new leader of the village or some shit like that. She was gonna have to stay there, and then her dad's like, oh, I don't wanna let my daughter go, but you know, I'll be able to talk to you all the time because I have the little people glasses and stuff like that. See, the actual successor was just a little kid that looked up to the queen so much and appreciated the forest so much, the queen decided to make her the successor instead. And when she got her powers, she actually ended up making MK big again. So unfortunately, Nod and her, you know, didn't end up together, but like they held their friendship by, you know, the small camera visual between them. And stuff like that. And also, I'm just assuming, you know, the queen's got powers to make big people small. So, I mean, if they ever want to clap cheeks, like, it'll be easy. Like, Nod to go over to the queen is like, hey, you want to do me a favor real quick? Can you do me a little favor real quick and make MK small again? And it was also pretty sad in the end because her dad admitted the only reason he was so dedicated to finding the small people is he believed that if he found those small people, that his wife would come back to him. And then realized that he wasn't actually insane, which is pretty rough for him as well. But the ending was great. Everyone was happy. A bad guy died. Good people lived. Ronan was a badass. And boy, in the end, all I could say is epic.